Hello everyone. Today we are going to move a bit further. We discussed persistent layer back then, and now we are going to discuss the repository. Now, what I mean by it, there was a lot of coupling. What I mean by that is when we were writing this data access code in it, in case of combining the application layer with the database. What happens is like we keep on writing the connection command again and again and all those sort of things in each and particular file whenever we had to access particular data. And we just had two files in it. So it doesn't seem much more of a deal. But if we are talking about more files, which are like 10 to 15 files and writing the same code again and again is tiring and it's like doesn't serve the purpose overall. So in order to decouple all this, we have this repository pattern. So we created a IRobotCommandDataAccess in which we have this interface. So let's look into it step by step. Now, I would like to explain you something called object relation mapping. So you map the application layer to the particular database using this technique called object relation mapping, and it is for the languages which are for the classes, which uses the object oriented, and which means classes and objects, obviously. So for those classes, you have this technique. So in order to map the application layer with the database, we can use the particular technique. And there is a technique called reflection, and another one is fast member. We are going to use the fast member. Reflection is a bit slow, but fast member, as the name suggests, is much more faster. So in order to do that, you have to actually download this packet, and after that, let's look into the code step by step. So I had the static classes, if you looked into the persistent code, in which all these things had static. Okay, my visual code doesn't seem to be working. Just a second. So in the previous persistent layer, we had these things called static classes, and in here I have removed the static classes. So in order to remove those static classes, what we have to do, we have to introduce this constructor without any sort of parameters given to it. So it's a default constructor for the ORM, which stands for the object relational mapping. So first step, removing those static things and introducing a constructor, default constructor in it. And after that, we were supposed to create an interface. So let's create the interface for our robot command data access. So first interface was created. So we had this thing called, we are using these three methods in that. So this is the add command, robot command, update robot command, and delete robot command. And it all is stored inside a list, and which has a data type robot command, which is taken from the particular model that we designed earlier. And same goes for the IMapDataAccess. We are creating this interface which is a list, and that has the methods add map, update map, and delete map. So after moving on to that, we done something. We changed this. So earlier, if you looked into the program file, we have something called, we were using actually the I robot command data access, and with that we were using the robot command AOD. So I changed the name. Earlier we were using, and it is like tightly coupled because we were keep on writing the same thing in here. You will look into the code which I have changed and how this is not like that particularly tightly coupled or keep on repeating the same information. So in this, we have introduced the IRobotCommandDataAccess. So it is using those interfaces, but we won't be using this particular file. I can comment it out and still work through it just to show like how to loosely couple everything. So after doing that, we have to do it to both the files. So change these names because we have created the interface which sounds or is a similar name. So you need to change those names so not to get confused. Now moving on to the controller, we are actually have you heard of the thing called dependency injection principle? So what it means by that, if a high level module is using a code which is inside the low level module, it isn't like serves the purpose. You had to uh, create all those code in a particular file, save it over there, and if another the high level module wanted to use it, it doesn't have to make more changes. It just could access the particular thing from those code and not to modify the high level module. Instead, we can just keep on changing the low level module and just accessing those information inside the high level module. So that's what we have done in here. That you can see inside the we have inside the I repository, but let's go step by step for that. So firstly, we have this RobotCommandDataAccess. So where we controller, we have this controller and it is using um, controller base. And earlier you could have seen like it is directly related to the robot command AOD file. We are going to change it so that it doesn't have the complete access, so the controller doesn't have the complete access over the database. So we need to decouple everything. So we can created a constructor for that. So that is going to help to actually decouple everything. Then moving on to the next in the program.cs file, we have made the changes. So earlier it looked like this. We have commented that out. And now moving on to the actual thing that we had to do in this is the object relational mapping. And that is done inside we have this file called, just a second. Okay, it's here. Yes. Our AOD file. So we have all these things in here. So list all those things. Now, again, the same thing. I'm repeating the same thing again and again. We don't have to do this all of this writing, keep on writing the same thing. So moving on to the next is the I repository. Now let's look how the decoupling is done here. Now, I had to say something about the entity. So entity is nothing but if you have a database and you have different tables inside the database. So we have a database called my database is called Postgres, and it has two data tables in this. First is the robot command, and second one is the map. Till now, so what these two things are, these things are entities. So these things have particular things inside them. Those particular things that are inside those entities are attributes. So we are going to deal with entities and how all those entities could iterate through their attributes to get the information back to us, so making the code much more simpler. Firstly, we have this repository in here. So we are creating the interface. So interface is using the execute reader, which is for actually getting the return value, like what kind of things we are returning from the database. There's the other thing called execute non-query, which actually returns either 0 or 1. It tells you whether there were changes made or not made. But the execute reader actually tells you what was the change actually made onto the database. So it takes the command and then it takes the parameter. So database parameter, right now they are null, the classes, and we are using the data types to be generic. So here, uh, all those data types would be changed inside these two files, map repository. So they could change the data type they are particularly dealing with. So map would be dealing with the map data type, and robot command repository will be dealing with robot command. So here, the repository class, and it is using the interface I repository, sorry, and the connection. So that's the connection string. Let me just hide it. And then we are creating the list. So execute list, like execute list, it is getting all those parameters for us. And after that, we are creating, like we have given the name. It's just a variable name right now. So entity is the variable name. Data type is generic. So we have created an empty list. After that, we have established the connection. We have given the connection string in here where all my password and localhost, so all those things are there. Then opening the connection again as we have done in the persistent layer. Then what kind of command it will be taking. All those commands would be assigned in the map repository and robot command repository. And then if it is null, then it will just uh, it shouldn't be null, otherwise there would be an error. And then we have this reader. So we had this reader which actually iterates. So this read function is actually iterating all through the entities or the attributes inside those particular entity. So here the entity, and it is mapping to the entity. So all those things are done. Like it made our code much more simpler. So just look into this and the other file. Where is it? It's here. So just look into this. We had to map all those things. It made it much more simpler, right? So just writing onto this, mapping onto the particular entity inside those table, and then adding those things and returning all those entities back all together. So this get all that map, get the robot commands is much more simpler now. And then we made these be exist inside this. So map uses, like it has still has to write the connection string in it. And then we have it is inheriting from the IMapDataAccess and IRepository, and it is using the execute reader. So that's what this suggests. And after that, same thing is written here, and it is taking the connection again, making it much more simpler. And then we have this map. So what kind of thing is it? So get would be selecting all those values and getting all those things back from this instead of writing all those commands again and again. And same goes for it. Made it much more smaller and simpler. Same, accessing those values and deleting those values. And same happens in the robot command repository. Same thing. After that, let's move on to the extension method. So this, you can take it a step further. And here what we have done is we are mapping the um, we are mapping on to the particular columns of the database. So it actually does it for ourselves. So using the FastMember and the NPG because we are using Postgres, and it is using this. We have created this function called map2. Use data type is generic, and it is taking the parameter reading and the entities. And the first thing that we have done is if the entity is null, it is showing an argument null exception. And after that, what we have done is like you can pass the entity could be map for this. Here, just given a generic term, so entity. Whenever you're using it, you can pass the term map or robot command in here. And after that, props. So this helps you iterate over particular entity. So whenever it matches, then we are iterating the field counts. And if it matches, so either the first or the default matches. So after matching it, or it should not be null. So what happens if like if the fast member seems to be null, that there doesn't seems to be any sort of uh, anything inside the database, it's null, it will return null. And if it isn't, it doesn't matches the null value, it will actually return you the value. So I have run the code Just a second. Just let me save it and run it once again. Okay, maybe there's something currently running at it. Let's just close it. Just again open it for one. Okay. Let's just close it once again. And now run. Come back. There was a problem with my hard drive. Nothing to be worried about. It happens all the time with me. So let's open the Postman and let's check our API and test it out, like whether the code is actually working or not. So let's just create another query. Basic to get just copy this, and we have, what do we have? It's my controller. So controller has API. Robot commands, and actually, yes, I'm connected to Azure as well. So yes, you can see it's working. So let's test for the map now. Yeah, maps. Okay, there seems to be an internal error. Probably the just a second. Let me check. Do I have the map in here? This is 6 the error. What is it? Let's just rerun it. Maybe it's running something else in here. Let's run a query. Let star map. Seems to be a problem. It's still keep on checking the connection. Okay. Yeah, we use it. So we do have it and it's working. Let's hope this also works. Authentication failed for the user. I'm not asking for the user. Let's drop this table. Drop table user. tables. Hmm. So silly me, I haven't changed the password in here. So let's just change it. Changing the password, let's just run it once again. And hopefully I should be able to see the map. That's a silly mistake. Yes, there you go. So it's working, you decoupled everything and learned how the repository pattern works and everything. So thanks for watching the video.